Join Forum IAS Academy, trusted by hundreds of toppers, including IAS Rank 1 𝐂𝐡𝐚𝐧𝐧𝐞𝐥 Sharma.
Hi, my name is Krishnan. Today I'll be doing the Hindu news analysis. These are the 5 articles that have been taken for the discussion. And towards the end, we'll see previous year questions. So the first article is about Indian Council of Social Science Research. So what they are going to do is, they are going to announce the results of the research award proposal. So what they have done is, the government has come up with various schemes, right, and public policy initiatives. So what they are going to do is, they have asked for people who are going to study it. So a lot of people had given their proposals. So for that, they are going to tell the results. So why they are doing it, all these things we'll see in this article. So what has happened? So what they are going to do in this scheme is, 500 researchers are going to get funding for the studies based on fieldwork focused on a specific geographical region. So why IASs are they doing this basically is because they want Indianized research methodology tools. So why they are telling Indianized research methodology tools means, generally to study all these schemes, policies and all, they are using Western tools, and that is not suiting Indian conditions. So that's why they are telling we are going to study Indianized research methodology tools. So what are the schemes they are going to study? PM Ujjwala Yojana, Awas Yojana, Deen Dayal Antyodaya Yojana, Krishi Sinchai Yojana, Fasal Bima Yojana, Kisan Samman Nidhi, Year of Millet, Ayushman Bharat, Jan Aushadhi Yojana, Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, Make in India, Gati Shakti, New Education Policy, so on and so forth. So there are a lot of schemes that they are going to study, and these schemes will be given priority. So what the members of this organization telling, they are going to carry out primary data driven empirical research. So what is the social and economic impact these policies have on the government? That is, what is the social and economic impact these policies of government have out on people? So that is they are going to study. So in this scheme, they are going to have 2 types of studies. So what are they? One is the collaborative studies with institutions, where researchers will be with institutions. So for that, they'll get 30 lakhs for 6 months. And individual studies, that is 6 lakh for 6 months. That is, they can go and do their own studies. So in this, preference will be given to researchers coming from peripheral areas or underprivileged institutions. So they are going to totally select 500 proposals. So why they are doing this is, by 2047, India should be a developed country, and for this, social science has a crucial role to play. So they are telling will encourage them. So in the first, what they are going to do, they are going to study public policy initiatives. They are telling, if India has to become a developed country, first what we should do, we have to have an equitable and sustainable development of the people. So so for that, to know if there is equitable and sustainable development, we should have all these data, right, for what is happening because of policies and all those things. So what the research outcome will tell, so it will tell the government will also know in which direction they are going. It is it helping the people, what people are feeling about these policies. So all these things government will get to know. So they are telling 24 research institutes and 6 regional centers will help the government in this process. So the organization will not tell what methodology they should use. So that is left to the researchers. So academic freedom they are giving, but senior social scientists are going to develop a basic framework on how a study should be carried out. So, but that will be a very general guideline, and the researcher can build on it, because they are telling we don't want to limit our researcher's scope. So this is the main thing. So what they are telling, we have to decolonize the methodology. What do you mean by decolonize the methodology? So it is the British bureaucrats who started all these surveys and all those things, and they had a very they thought Indians were non-civilized. They had a very low opinion about Indians, and all the using methodology they came to negative opinions about Indians. So they are telling we are going to decolonize. So colonial bureaucrats method we are not going to follow. So that's why they're telling, especially when it comes to studying the tribal communities and different castes, because the British did not have an idea about how tribal communities and castes function in India, and they came up with wrong conclusions. So that is why Professor Singh is saying Indianizing social science methodology in the country is very important. So that's why he's saying today the study of socioeconomic realities of specific communities of the country. So throughout the world they are using a lot of things, but all these research methodologies originated from the US or Europe. So this will not be fit for India. So so that's why they're telling yardsticks that originated in US and Europe cannot be used in India. So the same yardsticks cannot be applied to study communities of various regions. So why they are telling we should Indianize them means in India we have our own intellectual and philosophical traditions, and through that we have our own social concepts. So in that social concepts itself we have analytical framework. So all these things are in Indian system itself. So we should develop these methodologies from Indian tools itself. So what they are going to do, they are going to see if these tools can be used to study the social realities of the people. So what Professor Singh is again telling is he's going to use all these tools to study various societies in the country. And he's telling even in Africa, what people are doing is there is a lot of awareness among social scientists in Africa, because even they've stopped using colonial methodologies and they've come up with their own tools. So that's why he's telling Indian social scientists also should be confident and they should come with their own methodological tools. So finally they are telling from the proposals that we get, we see if we can come up with our own methodologies, and we are going in that direction. Now let us move on to the next article. There's often this tussle between government and judiciary, so that is going on right now. So what has happened is the government has sent a draft standard operating procedure. So what they are telling the government is they are telling you tailor your judicial conduct in so they are actually telling in these cases you behave like this, like if government officials are involved, you follow this procedure and all those things. But the Chief Justice of India, Chandrachud, has taken offense to it. So he's asking what is the government trying to tell? Are they trying to tell how we should exercise our judicial review, like that? They're asking. So this is what the Chief Justice of India has told the Solicitor General. So he's telling I've gone through the SOP, and there are some points which is telling how judicial review should be exercised. So and then the Solicitor General denied any intention. So the Solicitor General has told no, Your Honor, we don't have anything to do like that. We don't have there's no intention on the part of the government to modify the court's power of judicial review. He's just telling, see, we are giving this SOP because the court is summoning even chief secretaries and all for small reasons. So for that only we are sending this SOP. So what the Chief Justice has done, he's reserved the case for orders, and what he's still he's agreed to frame broad yardsticks. So he's saying we'll look into it. So we'll see in what issues we can call government officials and on what issues let us not call them. So, and one more important thing. So they're telling when the case was still pending in appeal, don't summon officials. So that also they're telling. So the Chief Justice has told that it's an important point worth consideration, and we'll look into it. Now next comes the important thing, the dress code. So you all know, like sometime back this video went viral where the High Court judge would pull up an IAS officer for not being in a formal dress code, but of course he was wearing a formal dress, but the judge took offense for the fact that he was not in a suit. I said this is not a formal dress code. So what the SOP is telling is government officials are not officers of the court. So government officials, they are just coming to represent their side. They are not officials of the court, and there should be no objection to their appearing. So if they are coming in a decent dress, if they are coming in a formal dress, and if the appearance is not unprofessional, and if the appearance is not unbecoming of his or her position, then the court should not have an objection to it. But what the Chief Justice had told, Chief Justice is saying, see, these things and all, I'll not look into it. Only one thing I'll look into it, that is how to summon government officials. When should we summon them? Should we summon them or not? Those things I'll look into it. These things and all I'm not going to look into, like the Chief Justice has told. So next there are other important issues as well. So the government is telling, whenever you're telling the government to form a panel or a committee, you just tell the broad composition. You just tell who, like let's say you just tell the member should be a expert in public affairs, the member should be a social science activist, like that you tell. But you do not tell this person should be there, this person should be there. To form the expert committee, it should be left to the government wisdom. So they're telling judiciary should not tell who the members should be. Next, what they are telling, see, there are a lot of public policy issues that the central government is coming up with. Now they are telling the court should not give us specific guidelines, because your judiciary, we are executive. If your judicial orders are involving in complex policy matters, then you're telling do it now, because all these public policy issues, they need consultations, ministers should look into it, officers, bureaucrats should look into it. So they're telling they're saying you just not get too much into it. Because what is the standard operation procedure is telling, judiciary getting into too much into all this public policy issue and all is violating the principle of natural justice. First, it's not violating principle of natural justice, but they're telling it's violating separation of powers, because executive should look into all these public policy issues, like how could judiciary come into it. Next, what the standard operating procedure is telling is, let's say if there are contempt of proceeding case regarding a judge's order, then the same judge should not come and sit in the case. So they're telling the person charged with contempt of court should be free to ask for trial by another judge. So the SOP is telling the Chief Justice should look into all this thing. So next, what they are telling is, before you charge someone with contempt, you see if the judicial order was enforceable at all. So let's say there's something wrong. Let's say some PIL has been filed, and the court is ordering the official to do something, and the official is not able to do it immediately, then there is contempt of court, right? So the central government's SOP is telling you look into all these cases and then you go forward. You have you exercise restraint. That's what they are trying to tell through this. So that is what they are telling here. You are focusing too much on the outcome. That too, these outcomes are based on what executive is going to do. We are executive, you are judiciary, you don't come into this. So the SOP is telling we are trying to, so don't think we are trying to order you. We are only trying to create a more congenial, more comfortable and conducive environment between the judiciary and government. We don't want any tussle. So there should be conducive environment between the judiciary and the government. So we are telling you all these things because we want to be compliant of judicial orders. We want to listen to what you say, but don't just for everything don't put contempt proceedings. And we want to minimize contempt proceedings. We want to save time. We want to save resources of both the government and of the court also. So in the standard operating procedure, they're telling the court to look into all these things. Now let us move on to the next article. This article is about Equitarians not wanting oil exploration and expansion. So let us see what they are talking about. So this is a historical decision because Equitarians, they are telling they do not want oil drilling of a protected area in the Amazon. So why they are telling they don't want it? Because it is home to two uncontacted tribes, like the in India we have the Sentinelese, right? Like that, there are two uncontacted tribes in Amazon, and it is a biodiversity hotspot. So close to 90% of the ballots they have counted, and 6 out of 10 Equitarians have rejected the oil exploration. So you see there are few important things here. So Yasuni National Park, just by heart it, Yasuni National Park, it is in Ecuador area, and it is an Amazon forest. And what are the two tribes that live in self-isolation? That is Tagari and Taro Menani. So the area is inhabited by the Tagari and Taro Menani. So these two tribes live in self-isolation. That is, they don't want to have contact with the larger world. So now let us see about Yasuni. So this in 1989, Yasuni was designated as a World Biosphere Reserve by UNESCO. So the surface area is over 1 million hectares and 610 species of birds, 139 species of amphibians, 120 species of reptiles, and of them 3 are endemic. So you see it's really a biodiversity hotspot. So but this has come as a very significant blow to the Ecuadorian president, because he wanted to sell the oil and improve the country's economy. So because of the vote, what will happen? State oil company Petro Ecuador will be required to dismantle its operation. So that is good. So what this shows, people are increasingly getting awareness about the environmental things, climate awareness, global warming. So people knew that it will increase the economy, it will be good for the economy, but they voted against it. They wanted to save the tribes, they wanted to save animals, plants, reptiles, and all those things. So this is a sign of good things to come. But on the other hand, political turmoil and all is there in Ecuador. So generally all these things are quite common in Latin America. So what has happened? There's political turmoil in the country because someone has killed one of the candidates of the election. So all these things are still going on in these countries. Now let us move on to the next article. This article is about drilling in North Sea. So let us see what is this. So what the UK Prime Minister has done is recently backed plans for new fossil fuel drilling. So where they are going to do it off the Britain's coast. So this has led to, the environment experts are worried because this will lead to irreversible climate change. But why UK is doing it? You all know, because this will help Britain become more energy independent. So the North Sea Transition Authority, they are only going to drill it. So they are responsible for regulating oil, gas, and carbon storage industries. So they are going to get new licenses. So totally they are going to get 100 licenses, and through this they are going to drill North Sea. So what is the history of drilling there? So where this North Sea actually lies between England, Scotland on its west, Netherlands, Belgium, France on its south, Norway, Denmark, Germany on its east. So in 1958, Geneva Convention on the Continental Shelf. So this was the first international legislation to establish the rights of countries over continental shelves. So the Geneva Convention, so they are telling if the continental shelf is adjacent to their coastline, you can explore it. So using this, they are going to explore North Sea. So from 1958, the Geneva Convention told that. So the treaty came into force in 1964, and the UK Parliament passed the Continental Shelf Act, and this act provides them to exploit the continental shelf based on the 1958 Geneva Convention. And it delineates the jurisdiction because it is in between a lot of countries, right? So where UK can drill, like that the act tells. So it can take oil and gas resources under the seabeds near its shores itself. So the first license for North Sea was awarded to British Petroleum in 1964 itself, and then later British Petroleum discovered natural gas in the North Sea off the East Anglian coast. So when did they make their first discovery of commercial oil? So large Forties field east of Aberdeen, Scotland. So in the next 15 years, British Petroleum started more than 15 fields in the UK North Sea and 4 in the Norwegian North Sea. So now what has happened later, more British, European and US companies started exploring the North Sea, and by 1980s there were hundreds of companies and oil companies looking for oil and gas. So at one point, you see, in 1999, exploration and production in North Sea peaked. So 1,37,099,000 tons of crude oil and natural gas liquid was produced from North Sea. So now in 2022, the production declined to 37,000 tons. So you all know offshore drilling is problematic. You all know why. The reasons are all the same. So US based group, what they are telling, the offshore drilling puts workers, waters and wildlife at risk. Workers means people are working, waters means resources in the water, and wildlife means all the living things that are inside the marine area. So what they are telling, drilling in seas and oceans for fossil fuel not only aggravates the threat of climate change but also warms oceans and rises sea levels. And offshore drilling, it will lead to what? Marine biodiversity will get attacked. There will be problems to coral reef, shellfishes, and marine ecosystem will become more acidic because of carbon pollution getting into oceans. So all these things are there because of offshore drilling. So what about climate commitments? So the thing is, India is doing well in these areas, but you see developed countries like United Kingdom are not following this properly. So progress report. So this is they are telling what UK has done. So they have told to the UK Parliament. So the Climate Change Committee, so they only advise the UK, and they only come up with emission target and all. They are telling the UK is not adequately prepared for climate change under the National Adaptation Program. So they are telling neither mitigation nor adaptation have been done properly. So even the mitigation to help prepare the country for climate change, even that has not been done properly. And so the CCC report says there is very little evidence to show that the government has done things for adaptation. They have done nothing for all the climate related risk and all those things. So finally, the climate action tracker, it's telling climate action in UK is not consistent with the Paris Agreement. So even though the overall rating is almost sufficient, the UK's nationally determined contributions and long-term targets do not represent a fair share of the global effort to address climate change. So they're telling, see, India, China, and all, to some extent they are doing something, but UK is doing nothing. So they are not mitigating. At the same time, what they are doing, they are licensing new oil and gas extraction plants. So experts are telling this is incompatible with 1.5 degrees Celsius limit in the rise in temperature. So they're telling if you keep giving licenses like this, how will you reduce climate change within 1.5 degrees Celsius? So Climate Action Tracker website is telling if you do like this, you cannot limit it within 1.5 degrees Celsius. Now let us move on to the next topic. This topic is about Brics, because you all know there's a Brics summit started in South Africa today. So let us see what this article is about. So what they are telling here, a lot of geopolitical things are going on. So first, the author is criticizing Brics because he's saying don't expect much from Brics because it has got nothing to do with reordering global economy, and even it cannot. It's not a good attractive investment destination, and it's telling Brics is just more revisionist and reactive, and it is not proactive, or it's not very sure about what it wants to do. But it's telling in spite of all these things, it is an entity capable of influencing the future of the world politics. So why he's telling that means people are tired of UN because Brics is more globally representative, because in UNSC, G7, G20, they're all dominated by the West. So the author is telling Brics could have much more implications for the international system. So why the global governance has failed? The author is telling global governance has failed because all global institutes are undemocratic. So the unrepresentative character of global governance institutions are there. African countries are not represented, Asian countries are not represented, South American countries are not represented, So that's why 40 odd countries are telling we want to join Brics. So and there are a lot of uncertainties also. So that is why in the UN there is a lot of problems. So that is why you see there are a lot of uncertainties because of Ukraine war, rise of China, and UN, UNSC, they are not very clear about this. So this is giving a new lease of life to Brics. So at the same time, the author is telling Brics, SEO, they are also not very democratic. Because within all these institutions there are competitions and hierarchies and all. But they are telling these forums they could ignite genuine conversations, and they are telling we need not hegemonic perfection but democratic imperfections. Even if it is imperfect, it's fine, but it should be democratic. That's what they are trying to tell. So what are New Delhi's dilemma? Because on the one end, we are part of the Quad, G20, G7, and at the same time, how are we part of Brics, SEO, and Global South? So the other is telling, why is India part of Brics, SEO, and Global South? Because India feels all this G7, G20, they are undemocratic and inequitable governance structures are there. So if you see IMF, UNSC, these things are, you can see all these things. But at the same time, India does not want to be seen as anti-US or anti-West. So that's why it is in these organizations also. So developmentally, historically, and geographically, India belongs to Brics, SEO, and Global South. But India is quite wary also, because there is China presence in these institutions. So, but where is India's aspirations? G20, G7, Quad. In these areas, in these institutes only, India's aspirations are. So what is happening is India is stuck in between. On both the sides want them, but India cannot belong to both. So it will be very difficult for India to balance it in the future. So, but India is traditionally opposed to blocks, because it is against the equitable global governance. So India wants multipolarity. But what does India mean by multipolarity? It is about equity, inclusion, and representation, not block rivalry, ideological rivalry. So even though India is against bloc politics, India will continue to get drawn into it. So that's how geopolitics is. So China is there. China wants de-dollarization. India also wants it, but the author is telling India should be very careful, because if you want de-dollarization, this will indirectly lead to rise of China and strengthening of yuan. So India should not be in the delusion that rupee will get help, but rupee will not get help because China is doing Belt and Road Initiative, its diplomatic bandwidth is high, and the author feels India with its limited resources will be able to match China here. So the balancing is going to get tougher, because India wants a more representative and equitable global governance. But at the same time, what is happening? India must not moderate the influence of China in non-Western forums. So if they do that, what will happen? They'll alienate other countries in Global South, because they see merit in China's efforts at expanding membership in these forums. So what the author is telling us, India is going to be very tough, because it should assert itself in the non-Western global forums like Brics and SEO, and at the same time they should check the influence of Chinese, and it should also fulfill the Western countries' expectations. At the same time, it should negotiate a place for itself in UNSC, G7, all those things. So India should do all these things simultaneously. So it is going to be a tough job only for Indian diplomats. Let us move on to the previous year part. So Global Competitiveness Report, who publishes it? It's an easy question. It's World Economic Forum. And Rani Ashoka is mentioned along with the stone portrait of Ashoka. Where is it? It is in Kanganahalli. Next, which of the following is not Harappan site? You all know it's Sohagora. This is a Mauryan site where you have all these inscriptions and all. So which of the following are features of Mahayana Buddhism? Deification of Buddha, that is Buddha being worshipped. Treading the path of Bodhisattva, that is also true. Image worship and rituals, that's also true. So all these three are true. So we have come to an end of this session. If you liked it, you can comment, subscribe, and share this among your friends. You can also follow us on Instagram, Telegram, and Facebook. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you again.